Hey, what's up guys? I've been glued to my computer monitor for the last 6 weeks watching Fish Tank Live, something that I think has been absolutely groundbreaking and revolutionary. I think it was a historic moment in online entertainment. While the show was running, I started to record my thoughts and predictions, breaking down how the Fish Tank Live website and that project, how it worked, what they used to build it, and trying to estimate and price out the total cost. As someone who does website building / developing, I don't really like calling myself a developer exactly, but I do deal in websites a little bit. I've done a little website stuff. And Sam has been saying multiple times how this operation is pretty expensive. There were a lot of costs that they didn't really plan on incurring. Definitely a more expensive project than they anticipated. And that's really easy to happen when you're making a website, especially with a website that's as complex as the Fish Tank Live site. It's definitely one of the most impressive and innovative websites that I've seen in a while, especially when the competitors, when it comes to streaming, let's say not as innovative whatsoever. Some would even say they're identical. Some would say they're identical sites. You know, some of these competitors that are surfacing, some would say they're not very original. Some people would maybe say that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the competition is not innovating that much. That's all I'm saying. So to see a website that takes risks and does something new and interesting and different in every way, both aesthetically and in terms of function, it's impressive. It's cool. We'll see if Sam is just trolling when he talks about how expensive the site is. Just as a little spoiler, the fact that I think their website is like pretty much totally custom built, like you can't go on WordPress, go on Squarespace or something, go on Wix and make a website that is like Fish Tank. There's no template for it. Obviously, on those CMSs, a CMS is just what WordPress is, what Squarespace is. It's a content management system, and that just allows you to build websites and manage the websites with some sort of user interface, a friendlier user experience to people who, you know, don't just code websites in raw code. It's something that is more accessible, and the most widely used CMS is WordPress. You know, they have admin panels, setup wizards, just things that make building a website a lot more streamlined, quicker, more efficient, more user-friendly. It just makes the whole thing easier. I use CMSs. I do not make websites in raw code. That's kind of going away, honestly, in my opinion. People are doing that less and less. You can do a lot with some of these CMSs. They're extremely robust, and they're really great. But all that being said, I don't feel like they're using a CMS. If they are, like, I can't tell. They might have hired, you know, a good team of developers to make the site, which if I were them, knowing what they needed and how ambitious the project was, I might have just done that right from the start than trying to do it a different way. Sometimes your project is so ambitious and so complicated, and you need so much custom functionality like this website because there was no blueprint, there was no precedent for it at all before this, that they probably would just hire a developer to build things from the ground up. That's probably faster, more efficient than any other option. So one of the first things I would do is I'd go into the developer mode and I just look around. Right away you can see that they use Cloudflare as their CDN, their content delivery network. CDNs essentially just take the image of your site and database that's on one particular server that you launch it on. Like in this case, they're based out of Rhode Island, so they're going to have an East Coast kind of server that is the origin server, most likely in the United States. And then that origin server actually copies itself, and then it sends it to be stored in these other proxy servers located all around the globe. If your website is a website that needs to be accessed all around the world. If you have like a local business, you don't really need this. But in this case, they would need a CDN because then if someone's in Europe, there's a proxy server holding that image of the site over stored in Europe, geographically closer, and thus it'll be quicker to access the website and its data from that server than trying to access the one stored on the server in the East Coast of the United States. So it's just a way to make your site load speed quicker for everyone globally, which we'll get to in a little bit, but there are global viewers, and I can see that definitively. So it's not just United States viewers for Fishtank. The CDN that they use is Cloudflare, which is a pretty normal standard CDN, a pretty high quality CDN that you can use. If I'm thinking as far as what their needs are, and also monitoring how the website has run so far and what the uptime has been and things like that, I would say, at least at this stage of Fishtank, at the very beginning, they had a lot of technical issues that led to site downtime. They ended up having to go over to YouTube to stream for a while because this website went down and they weren't able to keep it going because of costs that were incurred and certain things that were happening with Google flagging and all kinds of stuff like that. So at this stage, what I think their solutions are, not at the time of launch, Cloudflare Business Plan or the Cloudflare Enterprise, which Cloudflare Enterprise does not have specific pricing. You're going to talk to a sales guy and they're going to figure out exactly what your needs are and then give you kind of a rate that is congruent to your needs, and it's kind of variable at that point. They're paying more than $200 a month with Enterprise because Enterprise has network prioritization. They have multi-user control, which they definitely have people on the technical back end, the webmasters who are running the site. Might be just one or two people, but they definitely have, a team technically that's dedicated to the project. So they might need multi-user control. The really big thing here is load balancing. Now they could use a load balancer that is not through Cloudflare. There are other load balancers that you can use on your website. So load balancers, essentially, without a load balancer, you have the user accessing the internet accesses the web server, which has your website on the web server, and then it goes to the database server, which are two different things. So like Fishtank and the way it looks and what you see as the user is on one server, and then kind of like all the processing data in the database as far as all the user information, all the user accounts, that data, like all that kind of stuff gets stored in the database server. If you don't have a load balancer, it can get bogged down in just all these requests being sent through in the exact same manner in this linear fashion with no way of deciding how to spread it out. It's like multiple lanes on a highway or something, I guess, and then you go to an intersection and there's a traffic light versus if there's no traffic light and it's just stop signs. Any developers watching, let me know if that's a good analogy. That just makes the most sense to me. When you have a website that has as much traffic as Fishtank.live has had, which you're having 5,000 users concurrently, like constantly at a baseline pretty much during the normal times of day, at minimum like 5,000 users to 10,000 at times. That's a lot of traffic. That is like a level of traffic that you would do well to have a load balancer, to have a CDN, and all these different things like to mitigate these issues. Now I can go through the rest of the features of Enterprise, but also I'm not gonna lie, people might sleep on this, but the emergency support hotline, that is a feature for a production that you need 24/7 uptime for your traffic and for your website, or you lose money. Emergency support hotline is a worthwhile investment for almost every service that you're using because you're gonna need it. There are going to be times where you're gonna need it because you just need to figure out how to fix something as quickly as possible, get the site back up. You cannot afford to lose even a couple minutes of uptime. Don't sleep on that. They also have these different protections for DDoSing and stuff like that, which you're gonna want no matter what, because I'm sure that people have tried to take the site off or something like that. I'm sure there have been those attack attempts, but I haven't noticed any downtime or any of that working. So I think that they went with Cloudflare Enterprise. I could ballpark, it's going to definitely be more than $200, like we said. Now let me bring up the spreadsheet real quick. Let's for now say it's $300 plus for our estimations. And you know what I'll do? Sometimes you just got to call around and you just got to ask some questions. I'm going to call up Cloudflare. I'm going to describe that I have a site that has similar traffic to Fish Tank Live. I'm looking for a support number. I fucking hate when companies do that. It's so gimmicky. Like, no one does that anymore. No one does that. Put a regular phone number. Flare. Call Flare. Like, no one's calling Flare. You dumb bitch. I'm looking to use the service for a new website that I'm building, and I wanted to get a quote. I think it'll be enterprise, but I don't know for sure.
I'll get a hold of it and we'll be contacting you. Okay, sir?
Okay, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
What exactly are you all gonna be streaming here?
It's a live stream of a house. It's kind of like a game show, and it's going to have a bunch of contestants on it, and they're going to be able to move about the rooms and of the house and everything like that as these different challenges occur. The audience can kind of choose which room of the house they're going to watch.
Yeah, that's super interesting. It's like Love Island, but like with just access to like a live stream for it, huh?
Exactly.
That's pretty cool idea. Be very interested to check that out. Yeah, I think enterprise could be a good way to go. Then the enterprise plan starts around like $3,000 to $4,000 per month, depending on what exactly is needed and how much traffic and like various other inputs can come in above that. But with enterprise, we've got our support team 24 hours a day, our DNS, our CDN, DDoS mitigation, all that falls under the the starting enterprise plan. Mm-hmm.
Let's take away the load balancer. Let's take away the 24/7 support and stuff like that. In your estimation, would we still need enterprise due to how much server space we need to handle all these different feeds, this live streaming 24/7 uptime, like all this different stuff? There's going to be a live chat component. There's going to be there's a lot of stuff.
I mean, for a project of that scope and the amount of traffic that you're going to be seeing and the fact that it's streaming video, I think that the enterprise plan would be a good place to start, just because you have that 100% uptime guarantee, much higher level of support and performance. So for we have channels just for our enterprise customers, so that kind of thinking about it as like the HOV lane, so there's gonna be less traffic on there. So it's not only is it gonna be faster load times, it's also gonna be safer, just because there's less chance of wires getting crossed and things going wrong, less chance of encountering malicious traffic. Would probably be the safest bet.
Okay, that's really helpful. This has been an extremely helpful conversation. I really appreciate it. Actually, I put a voice recorder to record the conversation. Is that okay?
I do not mind.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that. I do believe that at least after they rectified the uptime issues with the site going down when it first launched, from that point forward, when the site came back online, I think that they were using the Cloudflare Enterprise. I think that it's possible they might have started out just on the Cloudflare Business package, but that was not enough. They didn't have the 24/7 support, and they might not have had the load balancer as well. So they might have actually had some traffic and server issues as far as that hosting when they first launched, and they had more traffic than they anticipated, and then they couldn't rectify issues as quickly because they didn't have the 24/7 support and the load, all that kind of stuff. So I think that might have been a possibility as to why they had troubles at the beginning. I don't know if that was the entire reason, but it could have been part of the problem. And then after that, they probably upgraded to Cloudflare Enterprise if they hadn't been on it already. And then we saw the site be way more stable after that. For their support, they have their own email with its own domain. Now, this is a .live domain. .live domains actually are cheaper than like a .com. Fishtank.com is obviously going to be taken. You go through a broker, and the broker just talks to the owner of the actual domain and then tries to cut the best deal. Usually it's going to be $500, maybe a couple $1,000, depending on if that domain is super high value for SEO. Something like fishtank.com, I don't know if that'd be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. It could be. It easily could be. I've been quoted thousands of dollars for domains that I did not think were that great in the first place. So that is $70 just for the broker fee, just for that guy to talk to and be a middleman to the actual domain owner, just for you to buy the domain. That fee that they'll charge is $70 right off the bat just to make the sale. So that would be an expensive domain to try to get. So they instead went with one of these other top level domains, which is usually cheaper. You'll see like .services is like $2, solutions $2, .live, .solutions, .ser. I haven't seen them until very, very recently that they've become something that people actually started using in any way, shape, or form, honestly. And I wouldn't necessarily always recommend that. For them to have gone with a fishtank.live URL is it's interesting. That might have been one of those domains that was, $2 for .live, maybe just a little bit more, maybe $40. It's possible. But what we can do is we can use the Whois database, some of the stats as far as like what registrar they went with to secure their domain. So they went with name.com for some reason. That's kind of weird. Name servers, we have Kelly and Elijah. So they have 2 Cloudflare servers. So that's probably the website and the database. So like Fishtank and the way it looks and what you see as the user is on one server, and then kind of like all the processing data in the database as far as all the user information, all the user accounts, how many tokens does each user have in their account, what email addresses are registered to it, tracking each user in the leaderboard to show how much they've spent. All that kind of stuff gets stored in the database server. It was registered all the way back in 2021 because they really might have had this idea for a while. I thought, they only started talking about Fishtank like semi-recently, I'd say, as far as spitballing ideas and stuff on some of their content that they've been doing for the months leading up to now, for like the past year, I'd say. But to have registered it all the way back in 2021, this has been a long time in the making to get this thing off the ground, which is not surprising. I mean, it's an extremely complex show. And it expires, now no one abused this, but it expires 2024 December 12th. I'm sure it's on auto renew. I'm sure they're not gonna let that lapse so that nobody can scoop it up. They just renewed it in February, on February 1st. This stuff might not be, this is good to see. They were smart enough, whoever made the site, to make sure that all of this Whois data, if you don't pay a slight extra premium to make all of this data private, someone like me can just go into the Whois database, and as long as the domain is registered through ICANN, which almost all are going to be, you can go into the Whois database and actually find a lot of information about the registrant and stuff like that. You can find things like maybe the address of the business, the phone number, some other stuff you wouldn't want people to know. And, not just for privacy, but it would make it more vulnerable to security risks as far as DDoSing and stuff like that, hitting you offline, because some of this information would be too accessible, too easy to get to. So it's good that they did that for privacy. Now, name.com, I feel like it's a registrar that I'm actually not familiar with. I don't know if this is just part of the privacy shit. No, it's actually real. That's pretty crazy. They're a partner with Wix, bro. Imagine if their whole site is built in Wix. I would actually piss my pants if their site's built in Wix. I would genuinely piss my pants. I'm saying that because it's weird. I don't know name.com, GoDaddy, Ionos, Domain, Namecheap, Google Domains, Namecheap again, GoDaddy again, Domain again, Google again, Bluehost, MailChimp, even fucking like name.com, in my opinion, it's not really common. Now, they also registered the domain several years ago, right? So, which means that they will have had to have paid multiple years domain costs that they've incurred, which usually after like the first year, you can buy multi-year packages for better bundling rates. Fishtank.live is on sale for $3.99. See here you have the advanced security and privacy. We know already that they did that because we saw in the Whois database that everything is privated, and that is an extra $5. So we know for a fact they opted into that. They did a 2-year first. So the first time it was $42.96 in total. Then it was probably, let's say they upped it for another 2 years, and it was another $42.96. So that is a total of $85.92 just in domain renewal costs and the advanced security for the Whois privacy and the SSL certificate, which we also know they have a valid SSL certificate that they're paying for because they go to here, connection is secure. You check this certificate, and here is the details of their SSL certificate. The third version of their SSL, they've been doing this for like 3 years. They've had this under their belt for 3 years. And they've definitely done, I think, 2 different payments of it, I would say. And so we'll call it $85.92. I hope you find it interesting. I hope you find it somewhat informative. I think this stuff is cool, obviously. And if you want to see more stuff like this, let me know and I'll make more.